On February 1, 2025, Ukraine once again found itself in the crosshairs of escalating aggression as Russian missile strikes targeted the historic city of Odesa, resulting in significant damage to UNESCO World Heritage sites and injuries to civilians. This latest assault underscores the ongoing peril for both cultural heritage and civilian safety amid the protracted conflict that has raged for nearly 3 years. Local authorities reported that the missile strike on Odesa's historical center injured at least 7 people, with President Volodymyr Zelensky emphasizing the gravity of the situation by revealing that Norwegian diplomats were present at the scene of the attack. Zelensky condemned the strikes as a blatant assault on civilian life, stating that they were aimed directly at residential buildings. He called for strengthening Ukraine's air defenses, highlighting the urgent need to protect the nation's cultural and civilian infrastructure. This attack was part of a broader pattern of violence that day, with reports of additional strikes across Ukraine. In Poltava, a missile struck an apartment building, killing at least 4 people and injuring several others, including children. The Interior Ministry described the building as partially collapsed, and rescue efforts were underway to search for survivors among the rubble. The day's violence claimed a total of 8 lives, with drone strikes also reported in other regions including Kharkiv and Sumy, where a drone attack resulted in multiple fatalities and injuries. The Russian government's offensive is increasingly characterized by its targeting of civilian areas, a tactic that has raised global condemnation. U.S. President Donald Trump, in remarks made during discussions about the conflict, suggested that he and Russian President Vladimir Putin could soon engage in significant talks aimed at ending the war. However, skepticism remains regarding the feasibility of such discussions, particularly given the ongoing violence and the precarious situation on the ground. As the conflict continues, Ukrainian forces have been striking back. Reports indicated that Ukrainian military operations successfully targeted a major oil refinery in Russia, disrupting critical supply lines for the Russian military. This strike on Lukoil Volgograd-Neftoperovka, noted as one of the largest oil refineries in Russia, highlights Ukraine's ongoing strategy of targeting infrastructure critical to the Russian war effort. The impact of these strikes reverberates beyond immediate casualties and damage. The conflict has wrought a humanitarian crisis, with over 10,000 civilians reportedly killed since the war's inception. Emergency measures, including power grid shutdowns in response to missile attacks, have become a grim reality for many Ukrainians, further complicating their daily lives amid the ongoing hostilities. Internationally, the conflict has seen varying responses. The United Kingdom, Finland, and Czechia have announced significant military assistance packages for Ukraine, signaling continued Western support. The UK alone pledged £2 billion, approximately $2.5 billion, for air defense systems and other military supplies, which could bolster Ukraine's defense capabilities in the face of renewed Russian aggression. As the situation remains fluid, analysts speculate about the potential for a shift in dynamics. The recent comments from Trump suggest a possible opening for negotiations, though many observers are wary of any deals that might undermine Ukraine's sovereignty or territorial integrity. Meanwhile, the Russian military's ongoing operations and strategies indicate a commitment to a long-term campaign, with envelopments around key strategic locations being a central focus of their efforts. The conflict shows no signs of abating, with each day bringing new developments that affect not only military strategies but also the lives of civilians caught in the crossfire. As the international community watches closely, the resilience of the Ukrainian spirit continues to be tested against the backdrop of relentless aggression, making the need for effective diplomatic solutions more urgent than ever. The coming weeks and months may prove pivotal in shaping the future of Ukraine and its quest for peace and stability amidst an enduring war. In a harrowing escalation of conflict, Ukraine's southern port city of Odesa has become the latest target of Russian military aggression, resulting in significant damage to its historic UNESCO World Heritage sites. On February 1, 2025, a missile strike aimed at the city injured at least 7 individuals, including Norwegian diplomats who were reportedly caught in the epicenter of the attack. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky condemned the assault. emphasizing its implications for the urgent need to bolster Ukraine's air defenses, stating, "This attack underscores the reality of our situation and the necessity for enhanced protection of our cities and citizens." The assault on Odesa is part of a broader pattern of aggression that has plagued Ukraine since the onset of the conflict nearly 3 years ago. Russian forces have launched a series of strikes across multiple Ukrainian cities, including Poltava and Kharkiv, resulting in widespread destruction and civilian casualties. The Interior Ministry reported that a missile struck a residential building in Poltava, killing 4 people and injuring several others, including children. The relentless barrage has prompted emergency power grid shutdowns across 7 regions, further exacerbating the humanitarian crisis. Ukrainian military operations have not been confined to defensive measures. Earlier reports indicated that Ukraine successfully targeted a Russian command post in the Kursk region, highlighting its counteroffensive capabilities even amid ongoing assaults on its own territory. As the fighting intensifies, Ukrainian officials continue to call for greater international support to address the escalating threats. President Zelensky noted on social media, "Every air defense system, every interceptor missile means a life saved," reinforcing the critical need for international military assistance. In a separate but related development, U.S. President Donald Trump indicated that his administration was engaged in serious discussions with Russia regarding the war, suggesting that he and President Vladimir Putin might take significant actions towards de-escalation. While Trump did not clarify whether he had spoken directly with Putin, his remarks reflect a potential shift in U.S. foreign policy that could impact the dynamics of the conflict. The situation in eastern Ukraine remains dire, particularly in the city of Pokrovsk, a key logistical hub that has seen a dramatic reduction in its population due to the ongoing violence. As Russian forces close in on this vital city, the impact on local civilians grows increasingly severe. The Ukrainian army has reported repelling numerous attacks, but the strain on resources and personnel is palpable. As the war continues to unfold, the prospect of peace negotiations looms large, particularly with the possibility of shifts in international leadership dynamics. Observers note that Moscow's recent overtures regarding negotiations, coupled with Trump's hints at a potential new approach to the conflict, could influence the trajectory of the war. However, the Kremlin's insistence on recognizing territorial claims before any substantive discussions begin raises concerns about the feasibility of a swift resolution. The ongoing conflict has not only had devastating human costs, over 10,000 Ukrainian civilians have reportedly died, but has also led to significant disruptions in energy supplies and infrastructure. As Ukrainian cities brace for further attacks, the international community watches closely, aware that the next steps taken by both Kyiv and Moscow will have far-reaching implications for regional stability and global security. In this context, the resilience of the Ukrainian people and their armed forces remains a beacon of hope as they continue to fight against overwhelming odds. The world holds its breath, waiting to see if diplomatic avenues will yield results or if the conflict will spiral further into violence. The coming days and weeks will be crucial as both sides navigate the complexities of warfare and diplomacy in a rapidly changing global landscape. In a harrowing escalation of conflict, Russia has launched a missile strike on the historic city of Odesa, wounding at least 7 people, including Norwegian diplomats who were reportedly in the epicenter of the attack. This incident underscores the ongoing volatility in Ukraine as President Volodymyr Zelensky emphasized the urgent need for enhanced air defenses in response to what he described as a direct assault on civilian infrastructure. The missile strike on February 1, 2025 targeted a UNESCO World Heritage site, a historic hotel that exemplifies Odesa's rich cultural heritage. Zelensky condemned the attack, stating that it highlighted the indiscriminate nature of Russian military actions, which he characterized as aimed at ordinary civilian buildings. This incident not only adds to the mounting casualties and destruction in Ukraine but also raises questions about the safety of diplomatic personnel in the region. In parallel developments, U.S. President Donald Trump revealed that his administration has engaged in very serious discussions with Russia regarding the Ukraine conflict. Trump suggested that he and President Vladimir Putin could soon take significant steps toward ending the war, although he remained vague about the details of these conversations. "We will be speaking, and I think we will perhaps do something that will be significant," he said, hinting at potential diplomatic breakthroughs. However, he declined to confirm whether he had spoken directly with Putin, stating, "I don't want to say that." The broader context of these military actions includes a severe barrage from Russia, which reportedly launched 165 missiles and drones across Ukraine during the same period. Ukrainian air defense managed to intercept a significant number of these threats, but the toll was nonetheless devastating, with 8 fatalities reported from various attacks, including a missile strike in the central city of Poltava that killed 4 and injured several others. Zelensky remains vocal about the necessity for international support in bolstering Ukraine's defenses. He tweeted, "Every air defense system, every interceptor missile means a life saved," reinforcing the dire need for military assistance as Russian forces continue their aggressive campaign in the east, particularly targeting key strongholds like Pokrovsk and Chasiv Yar. As the conflict grinds on, the humanitarian impact is increasingly evident. The United Nations reports that over 10,000 Ukrainian civilians have lost their lives since the war began nearly 3 years ago. The relentless assaults on the power grid have compounded civilian hardships, leaving many without heating and running water during harsh winter months. In the midst of this turmoil, political rhetoric is intensifying. Zelensky accused Putin of attempting to prolong the war deliberately, labeling him as afraid of negotiations and critiquing his claims regarding the legitimacy of Ukrainian leadership. The stark political dynamics reflect a broader struggle for power and influence, with leaders on both sides utilizing the media to frame the narrative around the ongoing conflict. As the situation evolves, the implications for international diplomacy remain profound. The ongoing dialogues, particularly those hinted at by Trump, could potentially alter the landscape of the conflict, though skepticism abounds regarding their feasibility and sincerity. For now, Ukraine continues to brace for further attacks while seeking greater international support to defend against the relentless aggression from Russia. The coming weeks may reveal whether the promises of significant diplomatic engagement can translate into tangible outcomes, or if the cycle of violence will persist unabated. In a marked escalation of tension in Eastern Europe, President Volodymyr Zelensky has called for a comprehensive report on the U.S.-funded programs in Ukraine that have been jeopardized by President Donald Trump's recent executive order to freeze foreign aid. This directive, announced during his inaugural address on January 20, 2025, temporarily halts all U.S. foreign aid programs for 90 days, leaving several initiatives in Ukraine in a precarious state. Zelensky, in his evening address on January 28, emphasized the urgency of the situation, stating, "I instructed government officials to provide a report on those American support programs that are currently suspended." He further detailed that his administration could potentially cover some funding through national resources and would engage in discussions with European and American partners to sustain vital programs, particularly those supporting children, veterans, and infrastructure protection. The freeze on foreign aid, a critical lifeline for many humanitarian efforts in Ukraine, has raised alarms among officials and organizations providing essential services to vulnerable populations. Zelensky highlighted that the affected programs encompass a wide range of humanitarian services, from counseling to organizing cultural events. He underscored the dire consequences of the aid suspension, especially as many of these programs directly impact segments of society most in need. While military assistance to Ukraine remains unaffected, the implications of Trump's aid freeze reverberate beyond immediate funding concerns. This suspension is part of Trump's broader strategy to realign U.S. foreign aid with his administration's policies, intending to conduct a thorough review of existing programs. However, critics argue that this move jeopardizes Ukraine's stability and may undermine the international coalition supporting its sovereignty against Russian aggression. The political landscape is further complicated by Trump's recent remarks about the conflict in Ukraine. In a press conference,
He suggested that he and Russian President Vladimir Putin could soon engage in discussions that might lead to significant developments aimed at ending the ongoing war. Trump asserted, "We will be speaking and I think we'll perhaps do something that'll be significant," reiterating his belief that the conflict could have been avoided had he remained in office. His comments raise questions about his approach to U.S. foreign policy and its implications for Ukraine.
As the situation unfolds, Zelensky continues to advocate for enhanced air defense systems to protect Ukrainian cities from Russian missile strikes, which have intensified in recent weeks. Following a missile attack on January 31 that injured 7 people and caused extensive damage to Odessa's historic center, Zelensky reiterated the paramount importance of air defense, stating strikes directly on the city on ordinary civilian buildings again and again. Air defense is the top priority. He called for expedited deliveries and increased orders for military equipment to bolster Ukraine's defenses. The ongoing conflict, coupled with the shifting U.S. foreign aid landscape, presents a challenging environment for Ukraine. As Zelensky navigates these turbulent waters, the outcomes of both the internal and external pressures will likely shape Ukraine's immediate future. With international support crucial to Ukraine's resilience, the evolving narrative around U.S. aid and diplomatic engagement will have significant ramifications in the months to come. As diplomatic efforts continue, the global community watches closely, hoping for a resolution that restores stability and peace in the region.